I cannot say enough good things about Carnival Cruise Line. They did an awesome job making our first experience as pleasurable and as safe and comfortable as possible.
Passengers on a Jacksonville-based cruise returned to port after 5 days at sea and an initial medical delay. It turns out that delay was to get a crew member to the hospital for what Carnival says was for routine medical observation, not related to COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus.
On Your Side's Robert Bradfield spoke to a passenger about the overall experience and asked if he would cruise again.
It was all smiles for David Scott, his wife Tina, and two other couples on board Carnival's Ecstasy cruise ship. Concerns over the coronavirus not keeping the group of six from taking a vacation.
We just weren't that concerned about it. We thought maybe it would be safe to go ahead and travel.
He says he was more curious than concerned about last Saturday's medical delay. After learning a crew member was taken off the ship before leaving port, Scott says there was no talks of it being related to the coronavirus, which the cruise line confirmed to First Coast News.
At no point anyone had anything to do with anything like coronavirus.
Scott says the overall experience was enjoyable from the moment he left and returned to Jacksonville. He says he saw the cleaning crews wearing masks and gloves, but did not think too much of it.
They just wore gloves, wore masks, but that's mainly more to protect themselves than anything. The rooms were very clean. We were very pleased with how they were maintained. We received excellent service throughout our entire stay on the ship.
Scott drove down from North Carolina to experience his first cruise. He says he'd do it again because the trip was smooth sailing. Robert Bradfield, First Coast News, on your side.